Hey, welcome to Honest Reviews. Today we have a pretty interesting smart buy for you. Today we are going to test nail clippers. Everyone's got them, you use them all the time. Is it worth it to buy more expensive ones? We're going to find out today by testing everything from the dollar store, some popular brands, all the way up to some that are from Japan, made by the people who made samurai swords in the mountains. It's wild. I think you're going to enjoy it. Let's get clipping. Okay, so when I first sat down to test all these, I was like, how can you even compare nail clippers? They basically are all the same. But the more I actually paid attention to the little details of how they're designed, the more I found that there are differences. So we're going to start off with the dollar store ones here. These were about 50 cents. The weight is very, very light. Like these feel like there's not much to them. The metal is unknown. I don't know what these are made of. I don't expect that it's anything that nice. I don't think it's stainless steel because it would say that if it was. One thing that there is actually a difference in that you start to notice with nail clippers is the opening. Here, the amount of opening that there is for you to actually like get the nail in there, right? So you can see here that the opening on these ones is like, I mean, it's that big. I'll show you real quickly here. These are our Japanese guys here. So you can see that there is a difference in terms of that opening, in terms of like, you know, is it going to be tricky to get a nail in there or not? So that is one way that these things do differ. Another way is basically like the handle, you know, how far down do you have to push in order to close that nail clipper? This one here, you don't have to push very far. That's nice. You know, it's not a lot of effort. When you're cutting nails, you know, does it take more or less effort? It will change the experience. You have the little handle here, you know, everything has some sort of grip here so that your fingers don't slide off. And then there is how sharp they are. And that is something that we're going to test right away here. So that's the dollar store one. Now we're going to move up in price. Okay, so these are some sleek black ones from Amazon. They say Fixbody on it, but I believe that the like brand of Amazon was actually something different. So they're kind of, you know, the typical, probably from China, different brands slap their logo on them kind of thing. These ones you get the fingernail clippers, you get this like little pouch, which is actually kind of sleek looking. Then there's the toenail clippers and like a little nail file, all for about $9, the price. Like those things generally do, kind of fluctuates, but $9 at the time that I did this review. So I mean, like essentially you could assume that this was like $4.50, about that. So we're going up in price, but these are still very affordable. So these are made of stainless steel and there's this like anodized coating on them. They have a different grip here and it actually works better. So, you know, this is another big brand that we'll look at right away. This is a pretty common way for the grip to work, but your fingers do just slide off just like that. Whereas this one, it's just little dots, but I actually find that my fingers don't slide as much. So like little things like that, but this grip, I actually quite like it. It's got like a little bump here, so your finger stays on there pretty nicely. The opening on these is wide. It's the same as the ones, the Japanese ones. One thing I did find with these ones is that you have to push really far. You can see how far down that lever has to go in order to get that thing to close, which, you know, that can be tiring. So, you know, if you have arthritis or any hand pain, that's going to be a lot of effort to do that for every single clip. So that is a difference. It's interesting just how far that has to go down in order to clip. Now we're going to move on to a really well-known brand called Tweezerman. Right now on Amazon, this one is going for $9 for just one. So now we're at like double the price of that last one because you don't get anything else. You just get this one guy. This is stainless steel. It's definitely heftier than all the other ones we've looked at. In terms of build quality, it seems nice. You press pretty far for it to go down, kind of similar. The opening is about the same. So in all, this seems pretty similar, but the edges of this are very, very sharp. Like it's not smooth or anything. You could definitely poke yourself just with that, just by pressing it. This doesn't grip as much as that last one, but overall, like, this is a pretty standard looking one. You've probably seen these all over the place, but it does require a lot of pressure to move that handle down, just like the last one. And then the final one we're going to test is the Greenbell is the brand. This is the Seki Edge Sakai. I'm not too sure. Someone I'm sure will correct me in the comments. These are currently $16 on Amazon.com, and they are definitely a lot bigger. So I'll show you here. The other three are all kind of the same size, and these are larger. So in terms of like portability, they definitely don't have the same like compact size. There's kind of this like large extra piece here. But it definitely helps with the ergonomics. These, you can see the handle here has kind of this like grooved area for your thumb. And when your thumb goes in there, it fits perfectly, and it just feels really, really nice to hold onto. This lever here is zinc alloy die cast. So it's like these are definitely the heaviest, feel really well made. The opening is wide. This is kind of the widest of all of them. And this is the thing that really was remarkable for me with these, is that I'll show you how far it has to push down. It's just that far. It's like barely goes down and those close. It is like half the distance of, say, this one, if you can see. So if I'm pushing these down, you can see this goes that far, this goes that far. So this you have to push like half as far in order to get it to close. So that's one thing that was really interesting about this, is because of the design of this handle, it requires very, 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 very little effort in order to get it to close. The blades themselves are made from Japanese stainless steel, and this is the one where it's allegedly the creators of the samurai sword have now taken those skills with steel and put it into nail clippers, which, I mean, that totally got me. I bought these when I was in Japan, so like I was sold. But I think that's cool. I think that's interesting. And we'll see if it's actually samurai sharp. All right, just really quickly before we test them, I will give you their star ratings, just so you kind of have an idea of how these are stacking up based on Amazon reviews. I mean, these are from the dollar store. They don't have a rating. These black ones here are a 4.3 stars with 937 reviews. Pretty admirable. The Tweezerman come in a little bit lower, 4.2 stars with 512 reviews. And then the Greenbell Seki Edge, our top price option, is 4.6 stars with 3,552 reviews. So that's pretty interesting. These have a ton of reviews, and they are the highest rated as well. Okay, now let's test them. I have a couple different tests. I grabbed just some fake nails so we can kind of test cutting along a curve. These are pretty thin. I expect that they all should be able to cut through these, but this will give us kind of just like a general look at how they cut on a nail. And then we have just some thicker plastic here, much thicker, and that I think will give us a good idea of just how cleanly they can cut through a tougher material. And sharpness, obviously, like your nails aren't this thick, but if you've used nail clippers that aren't sharp, you'll know that they end up kind of like tearing rather than cleanly cutting. And especially if you're dealing with like a hangnail or like a little excess skin, that can feel awful. So really, sharpness isn't just about like what could they cut through that's sharper than a nail, but it's like the cleaner it cuts, the nicer it's being to your hands and your nails. So that's why we're testing really thick plastic. All right, so we're just gonna kind of start with our lowest end ones and this like weird little nail thing, and I'm just gonna cut in a curve and see how that goes. And right away on my second clip, you didn't hear that click, and it kind of like pushed through the nail rather than cutting it. And I think if you've used nail clippers, you know that feeling where it's pushing through and it's cutting it based on pressure rather than actually a clean cut. And I think that's right away where you're gonna run into some like not great results. So it's kind of pushing through the nail there. And so it cut through there. We've got kind of like some like white little spots, but it cut through. So move on to this next one, our black Fixbody. Nice clean clips on each one. You can hear it. And that just like really cleanly cut on every single clip. There wasn't too much like pushing feeling. It was more like a clean cut. All right, next one. These are the Tweezerman. It required a lot of pressure to get through there, but it did click. But I'm having to push really hard. And like even that last one, it wouldn't cut all the way. And there's definitely some like edges. I don't think that's me, but so that was definitely harder to push through by far. And then we'll do these ones. Spinning them around, these ones open so easily. The other ones, it's all kind of, you know, a little bit more effort to open them. And these require almost no effort at all to go through there. And it clicked and was a clean cut every single time. So definitely, you know, just based on that little test there, the Greenbell Seki Edge were by far the easiest to cut through. The Tweezerman were by far the hardest to cut through. The dollar store ones, I could feel that it was just pushing it rather than actually cutting it. There was like kind of that soft push and it didn't click and cut through. So that would not feel good on your nails. And then the black ones, they actually you have to push further, but it wasn't too hard to push and they cut through. So they definitely were sharper than the Tweezerman. So now we're going to go to the thicker plastic and see if we can continue to test the sharpness a little bit more. All right, so this is just like a yogurt cup, but it's got some nice thick plastic here. And we're going to do one more round, just like a single cut, and see how it goes. So we're on the dollar store ones here. I'm just kind of testing the edge of them. So like lots and lots of pressure to get through, but they did get through. Now onto the black ones. Nice clean click. Took some pressure, but it went through for sure. One thing I do notice with that black one though, that's really interesting, and I don't know if you can quite see it, but where it cut, there's a little bit, like a little specks of black. So I feel like the black coating is actually coming off. And so see, I cut and there's like all these little like specks of black kind of dust. So the black is coming off of these. Okay, moving on to Tweezerman. Giving it a cut. It did cut through. I had to push really, really, really hard. And now the Greenbell. Barely pushed and it went through. So kind of the same results there. So I think in general, we can say that like these ones are the sharpest by far. It takes the least amount of pressure. They just cut through so easily. Then these black ones would be the second place in terms of sharpness. You have to push further, but it's not like you're pushing like that. I did notice all the little black flecking off though, so that's something to be aware of. And then I actually think the dollar store ones are kind of performing sharper than these Tweezermans, where I have to like push as hard as like I can with my hand in that position in order to get it to go through. So I think these ones are, the Tweezerman are just a total bust. They just did not perform at all. You know, they look like they're well made, but in terms of sharpness, they are just not even close compared to these ones. The dollar store ones, you know, I don't know if these are stainless steel. They don't open very wide. And I think that, you know, in terms of longevity, these will probably break pretty quickly. They're also not very sharp, and you're probably going to experience that kind of tearing on your nails that we saw with the first nail test. So I'm going to just get rid of those two, and I think it's down to these two. So we're looking at, you know, these ones were $9 in a little set. These ones were $16 for just the one. So these are kind of like, you know, $4.50 versus $16. This is almost 4 times as expensive. And I think that in terms of my opinion on terms of what is a smart buy, I would pick these. These performed perfectly in every test. They're easy to use. They take so little effort. It just makes like cutting your nails really, really, really easy. It works exactly the way you think it should work. These ones, I mean, I'm concerned about that black flecking off. Maybe they have a version that doesn't have the black. And if they do, get those, because getting these black ones and then having black dust all over the place is not what you want. But they were sharp. They did perform well. But I would say that, you know, in terms of using them, you have to push so hard. You have to push so far. They weren't as sharp as these ones. And over time, you know, this is something you're using like every week for years and years and years. I could definitely see these ones, it's just not built as well. You know, you can see that when you're turning this, it's kind of scraping. I can see all of the black is kind of coming off here. As I turn this, it's just flaking off. And so even though they're pretty sharp right now and they look nice and they're a good price, using this all the time, I don't think they're going to hold up. The way these are just so easy to turn and they just work so perfectly. They're so ergonomic. They're so effortless that, you know, it's just, they really are a joy to use. And that's something I look for. So even though they are way more expensive than this is the big thing. They're only $16. And that seems ridiculous when it's a nail clipper, but you spend $16 grabbing lunch and a coffee, right? And this is something you will use every week for years. And I think that's where it makes sense to spend your money on something that's really well made, that you're going to have for a long time. Comparing it seems really expensive, but compare it to, yeah, lunch. And there you go. You've got something that's made from samurai makers that you'll get to enjoy for years. So that's my pick there. But I want to know if you think that you would pick something different. So leave me a comment below. We've got some more of these coming up, so make sure to subscribe because we're really enjoying comparing these things and trying to find what's the best buy, the smart buy for your money. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give us a like, a subscribe, and leave us a comment below. Let us know what you want to see on our Smart Buy series, and we'll see you in the next video.